ghetto lens. I'm only trusting my ghetto friends. You better hope they don't let us in.
Disclaimer, this video is meant to explain the trope of the quote-unquote homo-thug in popular culture. It's not meant to taunt anyone who is a part of the LGBTQ plus community. Please refrain from any homophobic comments on my video thread. So, the homo-thug is a slang term referring to a person who combines qualities associated with homosexuality and traditional notions of toughness or masculinity. So there's no doubt that the depiction of a homosexual thugs in popular culture has a long history. One of the earliest examples can be found in the 1930s film The Public Enemy, in which James Cagney's character Tom Powers is a violent and ruthless gangster who is also depicted as queer. The public enemy of the film's title, who is a young Irish American growing up in the projects of Chicago. He starts out with petty crime as a juvenile, but prohibition offers him a chance to graduate to bootlegging and murder. This portrayal of a gay man as a thug was common in Hollywood films for many years, and it helped to solidify the stereotype of gay men as being aggressive and dangerous. In shows like Narcos, which premieres on Netflix, there's a character named Helmer Pacho Herrera. He was supposedly a Colombian drug lord who was openly gay in the 1980s and said to help plan the execution to unalive Pablo Escobar, whom at the time was known as the most dangerous and wealthiest man and or drug lord in the world. I remember the series how he could have an intimate scene and then unalive or physically assault someone or just dominate a man in a pool and no one would mention or question it due to their fear of who he was. In society, it has been depicted that gay men are either timid or very flamboyant in their everyday life. So seeing him as an openly gay and intimidating character was a bit shocking. In recent years, there has been a shift in the way that homosexual thugs are depicted in popular culture. For example, there's a character of Omar Little in the HBO series The Wire. He is a complex and well-developed character who is also gay. Omar is not a stereotypical thug, and he is not defined by his sexuality. Instead, he is a strong and independent character who is not afraid to stand up for what he believes in. Then there's the movie Moonlight. In Moonlight, which was directed by Barry Jenkins, it tells the story of a young black man named Chiron as he grapples with his identity, including his sexuality in a tough Miami neighborhood. There's different scenes that imply his lack of nurture in the home, that which makes him reserved in real life. He is thus bullied and labeled as gay by his peers. There's a scene where he is intimate with one of the popular boys. Nonetheless, he reached a breaking point in school from being bullied because of his gender behavior or the way he behaved. So during this scene, he's in class and he again just reaches this breaking point from what's going on at home and what's going on in school. And he severely attacks one of his classmates and ends up sent to juvenile and or prison. After he is released, say it's prison, as an adult, he puts on this persona of being a tough guy. And to me, in this movie, it just shows the expectation of, again, socialization, how men are expected to act, especially when they exit prison. And I also think that he never got a chance to really develop his character because in the show, he didn't have parents who were involved. And his mother, who was there, wasn't because she was a drug addict. Though people do criticize this as racial trauma in a movie, I do think that it does show important elements of gay people of color and how they do navigate in similar situations. When Chiron is released from prison, he greets his old friend, the one he was intimate with a long time ago. And they both seem to have been exploring their sexuality. When he meets him, he tries to put on again this persona that he's this tough guy. And the guy tells him how he pretty much lives a straight life. And I believe he even has children. And he reminds Chiron that he doesn't have to pretend to be anything but himself with him. And even though Chiron seems lost as his ex-con who's has his grill in his mouth and trying to navigate the world, it seems like he has some type of peace in that moment. And so I feel that this film does explore the intersections of race, masculinity, and LGBTQ plus identity offering a nuanced portrayal of Chiron's experience. Similar character when it comes to like sensitivity and toughness is Drew from Power Book 2. Drew is the son of a family of drug lords. He is shown as sensitive and thoughtful. However, he is forced to maintain his level of hypermasculinity. He tries to conceal his interest in men as he like navigates the streets of New York. Yet people still perceive him as soft or strange. There are times where he's often challenged by rival gangs or not as seen as a threat because of this personality. Yet his family often remind him that he has to like stay on point because of who his family is. And there are often times where he doesn't want to engage in violence and live a different life, but he's again reminded that that's the life that they chose for him. Drew also establishes a relationship with a college basketball player whom is portrayed as queer or on the down low, as some people like to say. With his boyfriend, he is allowed to be vulnerable and happy. Yet again, the street life often calls him back, and it causes a wedge in the relationship. There are many examples of homosexual thugs in popular culture, and these portrayals can be harmful to gay youth who are struggling with their identity. And I just want to bring up a different point, which is how people view the homo-thug in regards to prison culture. So Terry Crews portrayed the character Damon Hurley in the film Friday After Next, which is like the third Friday film series by Ice Cube. Damon Purley is the son of Miss Purley, the landlord of Craig and Day Day. When they admit to not having their rent, Miss Purley threatens that her son will harass him and that he basically just got out of prison. And so there is a notion of the homo-thug and his flamboyant behavior and physical depiction and assertiveness through Damon's character. He often engages in exaggerated and comedic interactions with the other characters, which to some contribute to the film's humor. There's a scene where many viewers find enjoyable or memorable, where Cat Williams, also known as Money Mike, who is a pimp with a silk press and manicured hands and well-groomed to say the least. It is implied that since the pimp looks like a woman by his like feminine features or grooming, that he abuses them, that he must not like women or be gay. Nonetheless, he is cornered while using the restroom by Damon. Though Cat Williams or Money Mike is smaller in size, the pimp defends himself. This scene, though perceived as comedy, plays into the trope in Hollywood of black men and hypermasculinity and the consequences of prison culture, to say the least. What I mean by that is that oftentimes when people think about like homosexuality, when it comes to prison culture, they think that either a man will be dominated by another man and get his manhood taken, or a man will just accept it because of the conditions. And so this to me was a harmful stereotype. And just again, like them using it in a joking manner about assault to me just wasn't cool. But I do know it's a comedy, but I'm just saying in general, that stereotype can be very harmful. And so now I'm going to talk about Boondocks and the character Gangstalicious. So the character Gangstalicious in the animated television series is a closeted gay rapper. Gangstalicious, whose real name is Percy Freeman, is initially presented as a hyper-masculine gangster rapper with a tough and streetwise persona. However, it is later revealed that he is secretly gay and struggles with his sexual identity. Gangstalicious' character explores themes of sexuality, identity, and the challenges faced by individuals navigating the intersections of hip-hop culture. The show goes into the complexities of being a gay rapper in a genre often associated with hypermasculinity and homophobia. While Gangstalicious' character challenges some stereotypes and raises important conversations about LGBTQ plus representation in hip-hop, it is worth noting that the character can also be seen as a satirical portrayal that highlights the contradictions and hypocrisies within the community of hip-hop. Aside from that, I would say when we again think about prison culture is the episode about the Booty Warrior. This particular episode is like a subplot of the controversy and criticism of Gangstalicious and everything surrounding it. However, this kind of references sexual assault, which again, to me, can be dangerous to people who identify as gay or homosexual, etc. So in this episode, the Booty Warrior, It is a fictional character who claims to be a real life inmate and is interviewed in a documentary style format. The character describes his pursuit of sexual encounters with other male inmates, emphasizing a predatory and non consensual approach. The portrayal of the quote unquote booty warrior character in this episode has sparked debates about its appropriateness and, again, how it draws harmful stereotypes and trivializes or makes light of sexual assault. However, the Booty Warrior episode has been criticized for its insensitivity and perpetuation of negative stereotypes, particularly within the context of incarceration. Then there's this movie called Prison Song that stars Q-Tip. He is arrested at a young age for an unintentional murder at a New York City subway station, though he is a teenager. He gets sent to the adult population, I believe in Rikers Island, and he meets a childhood friend who he used to play with, who has been in prison for like a long time. As he is just, trying to figure out the prison complex or what's going on through his friend, he later discovers that his friend is gay after he tries to make a pass at him. His defense is that he will be in prison for life and has learned to accept men as intimate partners. I'm just observing what I've noticed about the homo-thug trope. And one of the biggest things I notice, again, is how it frames masculinity and dehumanizes people who happen to be homosexual. I notice it with white actors, they usually present them in like some type of organized crime, or like they just have like some just cause behind what they do. And with Black actors, it's like they're a victim of the system. And not to say those things don't happen, but it seems like there still is a level of sympathy for the non-Black characters. I think that in general, it is important to see like LGBTQ representation that shows people in different walks of life, because a lot of people don't come across who are part of the LGBTQ community. It's already a stigma that a lot of times people view them as inherently bad or evil. So again, while these type of people exist, for that to be like a common trope and for someone always having to prove their identity or masculinity but still exist in very toxic environments just seems very exhausting. So I just thought it was interesting to talk about this topic, so I talked about it. Let me know what you think down below, and thank you for listening to Books and Looks TV. I'll see y'all next time.